Well, 3 weeks to go, and there are so many candidates for MVP. Peyton Manning looks like his old self in Denver. Tom Terrific is having another career year for the Patriots, and Adrian Peterson looks better than ever, less than a year after major knee surgery. So who is your pick for NFL MVP this season, gentlemen? And I'll start with you first. Dan?
Peyton Manning of the Denver Broncos is my pick for MVP this year because I think the impact he's had on that Broncos team is the most significant of any of these players that we're talking about. Brady was there last year, and obviously what Peterson's doing is incredible for a team that's hovering around 500. But Peyton Manning's Broncos team was 8-8 last year with Kyle Orton and Tim Tebow as quarterback. And he comes in and learns a new offense, gets used to new receivers, takes on this leadership role. You've heard John Fox talk about what he's like as a leader, how valuable it is to him as a coach to have Peyton Manning there to help deliver his message to the rest of the team all week. I think you're seeing the same guy you saw for years in Indianapolis, and maybe it's a fresh appreciation of him. Maybe Brady suffers because we're so used to seeing him do the same thing every year, but I think what Manning has done in Denver in terms of the drastic way in which he's improved that team over where it was last year, for me, makes him the most valuable player.
Me, it's Adrian Peterson. Are you kidding me? I had to give you a "Are you kidding me?"
7 and 6.
That's my first "Are you kidding me?" too on the stage. Man, this guy, you talking about a guy coming off major surgery, ACL, MCL. The thing about Adrian Peterson that impresses me so much is they know who's going to get the ball. It's no other option on their offense. Kristen Ponder, Percy Harvin's gone. Nobody else. So this man constantly goes up against 8- and 9-man fronts. It's almost like if Peyton Manning had to throw to his receivers that were double covered every play. That's how tough it is. To me, it's a lot harder to get 150 yards rushing in the NFL than it is to pass for 250 yards because of all the things. Everything has to go right with that offensive line. If one lineman doesn't do his assignment, that run play isn't going to be successful. If you got a good quarterback back there, he could improvise a little bit. He could move around, get it, improvise. But the run game, if everything isn't clicking, it's not going to work. And this guy has a 200-yard rushing game. This guy, and he's running like a beast. Are you kidding?
Well, I think that's
7 and 6.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the first thing for him. And it's an individual award, okay, but it's really a team award because you really can't do it without the other one. The guy that doesn't get enough attention, and this is crazy that I'm saying this, is Tom Brady. I mean, this guy is constant, and I think it's, you know why he's not, listen, I had to tell our producers to put him on the list because all we had was Adrian Peterson, okay, and Peyton Manning. Tom Brady is a victim of his own success. People know he's there week in and week out, and he's always playing at a high level. Yeah. And when you really look at it, okay, he's playing better than everybody. Right. He's definitely taking care of the football better than Peyton Manning is, and I think he's done more with less. Okay, receivers in and out of his lineup. Gronkowski out, Aaron Hernandez out, Welker in, Edelman out. You have an offensive line that has been just patched together week in and week out, and he's not sacked a lot. He gets rid of the football, but he's getting hit a lot. And what this guy is able to do is just basically make irrelevant receivers relevant. Now, you take a Demaryius Thomas, you stick him in the Patriots offense. I mean, this guy is going to be, I mean, he's already got a good name, but even better.
But, Christian, that's why I kind of give the quarterbacks a little minus compared to Adrian Peterson.
You give him a minus for that?
Because they touch the ball all the time. If you think about how many attempts and opportunities the quarterbacks get compared to the running back, Adrian Peterson, he has 1,600 rushing yards off 265 carries. I think Peyton Manning has thrown the ball 400 or 500 times, somewhere in that range. I'm not quite sure. So the quarterback handles the ball a lot more. Adrian Peterson depends on so many other things to go right for him to be a very effective and very good running back. So to me, if he was touching the ball, which I know is impossible, as much as a quarterback, then yeah, you know, maybe I can see that.
But don't you think like Brady gets kind of knocked down a little bit for being really being in the discussion every single year. It's
cry
like they almost feel like, well, Brady wins it all the time. Let's look at somebody else.
Well, look, on the game on Monday night against the Texans, did you see what he was doing, or did you hear about what he was doing?
As far as what?
He'd go to the sidelines, and they said that he was trying to get the crowd into it, being very demonstrative, which he never really does. And he was just like, and then you could hear the crowd saying MVP. We didn't hear it on television, but we did a whole story about it the following day. And I think, to his point, he is always overlooked because he sets the bar so high.
Right, I agree.
I think the argument you were making actually hurts your point, because the quarterback touches the ball more than the running back does,
right,
and therefore has a leg up on most valuable. You know, what he's doing is more valuable than what Peterson's doing.
But
now,
is that
the way
though,
Christian
Dan?
Ponder's playing, they may start to direct snap it to Adrian Peterson at some point, and that may be the best way for the Vikings to go. But in the meantime, I really think it's a Brady versus Manning discussion. And while I know that Christian thinks that Tom Brady doesn't get enough attention or Uggs endorsement deals or whatever else, or appearances in Us Weekly and all that stuff, I know he's overlooked. You never hear anything about Tom Brady for years now, you know. But I think that it's very close. Statistically, it's extremely close between the two. You cite the interceptions, and Manning has the 10, Brady has 4, and that obviously works in Brady's favor. But I think when you factor in the difference that Manning has made on that Broncos team, where were they last year?
But okay, you're right. You're right.
It may not be fair, but when you look at most valuable, that's the kind of thing that if you have a tie, breaks the tie.
But
for
no,
you.
but I don't think it does. I don't think if a guy, you said it, okay. So what he did to that team is made them better. Yep. But Tom Brady, week in, week out, year after year, at a high level. So you sit there and go, well, it's really Peyton Manning and it's Adrian Peterson. Listen, I love them both.
No.
Great stories. Comeback player of the year.
Right.
Hey, listen, have it out. AP and Peyton Manning.
But what hurts Tom Brady to me is everybody associates him with his head coach, and they always, what do they always say? But what do they always say? It's the system. It's the Belichick system. I know. I agree. I agree. But I think that's what kind of hurts Tom Brady. Everybody kind of puts that on him. Now, again, with Adrian Peterson, we got to look at the teams. Let's look at the talent for talent. You can't compare the talent with the Vikings compared to Denver or New England. It's no comparison.
So that's why you're saying he deserves it.
This man is doing it with a lot less
talent.
A lot less talent. They loading the box up against him. They're not worried about Christian Ponder throwing the ball. They're trying to stop Adrian Peterson. Now, I know Tom Brady, and I'm quite sure Peyton Manning that's who they try to go into the game stopping too. But those guys they have weapons at their disposal to help those guys.
Lomas, your hands are humongous.
You know what? And my wife told me.
You're talking and it's scary.
She told me. She say, stop moving my hands. She say the kids at home. She say my kids get all scared too. I'm sorry.
But they're shiny.
And meanwhile, the Steelers and the Cowboys face off in a crucial matchup of 7 and 6 teams trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. But who needs the game more? Is it the Steelers or is it the Cowboys, Lomas?
I'm going with the Cowboys. Yeah, get them, boys. Okay. They need it. They need it. They're not a very good team at home. We know this. Over the years, Jerry built that nice palace for them. They haven't been a very good team. Tony Romo, I call him the Romo coaster, because you don't know what you're going to get with that guy. Their running game, because of injuries, kind of been non-existent. Dez Bryant, you know, you got all these little things, all these little soap operas going on there. But the thing about it, they have a chance to right this ship. They can. They got some. These games are winnable. Like I say, they start this game off at home where they get a chance to play well. So to me, this team, they need it. Pittsburgh has another opportunity if they don't win this game. They need it.
You said it right there. I mean, the Steelers, they can actually lose this game, and they can go ahead and still finish 9-7 because they still have to play the Bengals again. So they can make it that way. The Cowboys, it's a whole nother story for me on that. And we touched about it earlier. It just seems like the Cowboys are on the cusp of really changing the way we perceive them. And you think about like a season, just like a game. You know, so many emotions in a game, on a play, really. And that's why people describe a football season as a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Now you're coming around the bend. It's time to really put your foot down on the pedal and really start to figure out who you're going to be in the playoffs. If you can make the playoffs. Dez Bryant playing, Romo being up and down, lots of injuries on the defense. Is our coach going to be here? This is one of those games. You're going to have a lot of them. Each week is going to be the most important game, a season-defining game. And for their mentality, I think they need this game more than the Steelers do.
I commend Christian for seeing the wisdom of my earlier point. And I think it's important to keep in mind with the Cowboys, it's not just for them, it's in terms of outside perception, which matters. I mean, you know, these guys care what people think of them. And if this year's Cowboys make this year's playoffs after being 3-5, with all those guys hurt on defense, you're going to have to start thinking differently about Tony Romo, about Jason Garrett, about maybe Jerry Jones. You know, Cowboy fans all grump about Jerry Jones and how he needs to take less of a role. The fact is he has taken less of a role. Garrett's got more say in player personnel than any coach since Jimmy Johnson. Stephen Jones has more say in player personnel all the time. What's going on with the Cowboys is a change in the culture around that team, and it's not really been noticed by the outside world, and I think if they did make the playoffs, people might start to talk and think a little bit differently about the Cowboys.
Yeah, well, to me, you know, and I was teammates with Jason Garrett. And
you were teammates with everybody.
That is true. That is true. Very, very brilliant guy. I mean, I remember we used to sit up in meetings, and the coaches would be going over the plays. Jason would be just like this, drawing up his own plays. The guy he's a brilliant coach. I think the thing about him, brilliant X and O guy. I think the thing about him is whether he can lead these guys, and I think that'll be the biggest question that can get answered.
I think he does, and
I agree.
Don't hear a lot of griping and grousing from the inside the Dallas Cowboys locker room.
I agree.
People complain about Jason Garrett are Cowboys fans who don't like how long it takes to play to get in to the huddle and all that kind of. The players do play for him, and I think he showed a great deal of leadership last weekend in the wake of the tragedy they had with Josh Brent and Jerry Brown, and I think he's been commended for that. Deservedly so. So I think this is a guy that's still a young coach, still proving himself, and obviously if they were to end up with a winning record and taking this division away from the Giants the way the Giants took it from them last year, then you have the possibility that people start to think differently about this guy.
All right. Let's leave it right there, gentlemen. Coming up next, Drew Brees says Roger Goodell has no credibility with the players. Can Goodell fix any damage he's caused with Bountygate? We discuss that in just a few moments.